You're listening to Trek FM.
Hello everyone, and welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's celebration of 50 years of Star Trek. I'm your host for this block, Daniel Proulx, and with me is Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We made it through Tattoo.
Yes,
so
we did.
It can only be downhill from here, right? Right?
I think uphill, hopefully.
Uphill. Yeah,
downhill. No, wait, downhill. Yes, it can only go up from hill. It's all down. Yes, you're right. My bad. Tattoo fried my brain. You know.
Yeah, I think they understand what we're trying to go for. So we're going to do 2 more Voyager episodes. We're going to do Cold Fire and Maneuvers. So let's start with Cold Fire. While attempting to make contact with the caretaker's mate, the crew discovers a colony of Ocampa, whose representative has an interest in Kes. So what do you think about Cold Fire, Mike?
Well, this episode has a lot going on in it. You know, I mean, so much so that it actually has a thing which I don't think they've ever done in Star Trek before, where they're like, you need to remember what happened in the very first episode. So here's not last time on Star Trek Voyager, but like first time on Star Trek Voyager. You know, and that's kind of cool. I mean, it's sort of like shows that this is going to be significant in a lot of ways, but then they sort of like build on the mythology, because it's not just like, oh, we found the other caretaker. It's like we found the other caretaker, and also it has a lot to do with Kes. It's basically a Kes episode. So that all I think is really cool, that they're trying to go for something which is so, you know, sort of like grand and epic in scope. And, you know, I think that some of it works and some of it doesn't. The whole thing with Kes sort of like expanding her powers and expanding her character in a lot of ways, I think is really interesting. The whole thing with the other caretaker, maybe not as interesting, maybe not as, you know, sort of like significant as I was hoping it would be. But in the end, I think that while it may not be tremendously good, it is sufficiently weird. What did you think about it?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, here's the thing, and I think part of it's hindsight, right? Because we recognize that they don't actually follow this up in any way. So, you know, at the end of Caretaker, when they set up, there's another, you know, there is another, like another franchise. It makes you think, oh, well, something cool may happen. Maybe they'll book into the series and the other one will help them get home, or maybe something cool or crazy will come out of it. 10 months later, which that little beginning snippet you mentioned tells us, it's been 10 months since Caretaker. 10 months later, and they find the caretaker's mate, and then nothing really happens. I mean, it tries to kill them and fails because of Tuvok's magic gun, which would have been handy to have in Caretaker, I guess. And then that's it. And then nothing happens, and then nothing ever happens again, if I remember correctly, which I'm pretty sure we never see the Caretaker again. And that's kind of a bummer, I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I think that, you know, in a lot of ways, this would have been good as like maybe the season premiere. Again, I don't know how their schedule got all wonky or whatever, but like I think this would have been like a good season premiere or a good season finale, you know, because it would be like wrapping up that arc in a sense before moving on to something else. But as it is, it's like, wow, yeah, we're going to deal with that thing that we set up in the first episode, which we made it you know, which we pretended was a big deal, but in reality, it's not that big of a deal. But I don't know. There's still some interesting stuff in here, nonetheless. Like we've got that Ocampa guy who looks like Saval a lot, you know, him. He's he's cool and he's crazy, you know. He's got that great line, I forget what it is, like release the fire or whatever it is.
bring the whatever it is.
Bring the fire, yeah.
It's bad. It's bad.
and the female caretaker's name is Suspiria, which clearly Brannon Braga is a huge fan of the movie Suspiria, and that was like the basis for this episode. You know, I mean, I know like he's a big fan of like the movie Notorious. And this would be like if he named like Tandy Newton's character in Mission Impossible 2 Notorious. You know what I mean? But I guess Suspiria works as a name. I mean, why not?
Yeah. It's it's interesting. And I guess because it's Brandon, right? Things do get weird.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they tied the caretaker's mate story to Cass because she's an Okapa. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I like that, and like you said, I like the whole kind of thing is like she's pushing forward and stuff. I have to say, like, I like Cass just fine. I have no problems with Cass. Jennifer Lean to me has the most soothing voice. Like, I think it's wonderful. But oh my God, when she screams in this episode, when she burns Tuvok,
yes,
it is this most terrifying, blood-curdling, like, scratch your eyes out scream. I'm like, oh my, somebody help this poor woman. She's really dying or something. I don't know, but it's terrible.
I was going to bring that up. It's a scream to rival Chekhov scream, you know?
It's crazy.
I mean, it is almost Chekhov in its level of intensity and yeah, that was a very impressive moment, I have to say. Also, if you want to play a drinking game and get absolutely hammered, take a shot every time someone in the episode says sporocystin.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. It's crazy. It's like every other word. But.
Yeah. It's a nuts episode, and, I mean, we're really kind of seeing now, there's been a string of them right here in season 2, I think, where, like, Voyager starts doing just these crazy high concept ideas, which are sort of right in, Brannon Braga and I think Joe Manoski's wheelhouse, and they're just doing these sort of like insane, crazy high concept of the week things. And it's weird, like watching these episodes, watching them with Deep Space Nine, sort of back to back on a daily basis. It's very strange to see the two of them because they really do feel like completely different shows,
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, it's not jarring, I don't think, but it is interesting because you get to see literally two ends of the Star Trek spectrum, like totally different approaches to this property, which is cool. That's something that you don't, especially at the time, especially in the 90s, wasn't a thing that was happening very often. So that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so we had some fun with Cold Fire when Kes got to go Super Saiyan. Is there anything else you want to talk about in that episode?
No, I think we pretty much covered all the major things. A lot going on in it, but I guess we didn't talk about boiling Tuvok, but that's okay. We can.
Yeah, that's the scene where she screams. So we kind of touched on it, but and speaking of episodes that are just chock full of stuff, can you summarize Maneuvers for us?
Maneuvers is the one where the Kazon attack the Voyager and try to steal their transporter technology, and it's revealed that the person sort of leading the Kazon on this charge and giving them the access that they need is our old pal Seska, and Chakotay, feeling responsible for the whole Seska situation, decides to get all John McClane and take on Seska himself and take her down, without the help of anybody. And it goes from there. So what did you think about Maneuvers?
So Robert Beltran must have, this was in 3 episodes. He had 2 of them. They were 2 of them were Chakotay's, because the one we had Tattoo, and then we obviously skipped over Cold Fire, and then now we have Maneuvers, and this is definitely a Chakotay heavy episode. Not good. Chakotay heavy episodes don't work for me very often, I gotta say. It doesn't work because the Kazon are silly, I think.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be menacing. They're supposed to be threatening. The worst thing you can say about these people is that they're misogynistic. That obviously Seska is the smartest one in the room, and that guy can't even handle it. And that's it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, you would think by this point in time they would have moved out of Kazon space and the Kazon would be a distant memory, and I really kind of thought they would do that. I almost thought they would, break it up season by season and say like, okay, the Kazon were the big baddies in season 1. Now let's have some different ones in season 2. But apparently not. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to run away from the Kazon as quickly as possible. But they apparently didn't, and it's unfortunate. I think they really just did not know what to do with Chakotay's character, because the choices that they make from a storytelling standpoint are ridiculous. The character of Seska is ridiculous, and then of course this episode has the stinger, which is like, oh, while you were sleeping, Chakotay, I stole your DNA and we're gonna have a baby. And it's like, really, we can't just drop this? We can't just move on with our lives?
It's bad. It's stupid. It's so, and here's the thing too. They don't even follow up with it. I mean, I know she does get pregnant, but then she has the baby, but then it dies immediately afterwards. And like, what's the point of even going through this whole process if you don't even do anything interesting with it? And
I'm wondering if that might have been just like, they were like, this was a dumb idea. Let's try to just retcon that, as much as we can.
I do like Seska. I like her as a character. I like the idea of her, and I like the actress a lot. I think she does it well.
Yeah.
And I like her kind of over the topness, villainousness when it comes out. I like the idea that she would constantly be a thorn in Voyager's side. She keeps coming back, kind of like Tasha does on The Next Generation. She just keeps showing up sometimes, whether it's in whatever form, holodeck form or time travel form or whatever. But this one is not great. There's just not a lot to love in this episode, unfortunately.
Nope. It's too bad. What can you do?
It is too bad. What you can do is you can move on, because tomorrow we're going to talk about 2 Deep Space Nine episodes. We're going to be talking The Sword of Kahless and Our Man Bashir. But Mike, before we go, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me right here on Trek FM doing Stage 9, where John Mills and I talk about the people who make Star Trek. And you can also find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K.
And you can find me on Twitter as well, at OneUpDan. That's the number 1, not the word.
And I just want to say here, this is episode 244, which means we are at exactly now the 2/3 mark. We're 2/3 of the way done. So here we are, the home stretch, the final act. Let's do this.
This is your baby, Mike. How do you feel at this point, at this juncture in time? Do you feel like this has been more than you thought it was going to be, or exactly you're right on track?
It's been a hell of a lot of work, but I think it seems like, unlike other shows that I do, it seems like people are really enjoying this one. And it's weird seeing people talk about it without talking to me about it, and positively. And I'm like, that makes me happy. I'm glad that people are doing this. I wanted this to be sort of like a communal experience where we all get to watch Star Trek together, for the 50th anniversary. And I think that's kind of what it's become. It's become way bigger than me, for sure. Literally dozens of people working on this thing, and I'm really happy that people are enjoying it. So yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it, but it is a hell of a lot of work. This is my 15th episode in a row. Tomorrow will be number 16. I'm really, really ready to watch something other than Star Trek for a while.
It is tough. I've only had 2 blocks concurrently, so even that is tough. I mean, watching 8 episodes, because you don't want to do it too far ahead of time anyways, so you got to do it 3 days max. And, man, it gets tough. It gets tough because it's
really tough. Recording the little 15-minute episode, that's nothing. Editing it, that's nothing. It's the 8 hours of preparation before recording for 1 hour, which is, killer. That's the killer for sure. But,
yeah. Well, you know what? People love it, and it's great. It's a great project to work on, and let's power through the back third of it here.
All right. Sounds like fun.